American Heart Association. There are so many incredible causes to choose. There are so many incredible missions to serve. What we want the community to understand is that every one of you matter to the American Heart Association's mission. 1 in 2 will have some form of cardiovascular disease. We also know that over 50% of the US population suffers from hypertension. We also understand that those risk factors are very modifiable. We are here to inspire change, and it truly does begin with you. It's my great honor to present our first speaker today. His name is Ryan Riethel. He is business manager of IBEW, Local 697, a previous AHA Heart of Gold executive chair. Ryan?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Ryan Riethel, business manager for the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 697, and previous Heart of Gold chair for the American Heart Association here in Northwest Indiana. It is challenging not being gathered in person, but I know the leadership on the call are committed to the life-saving mission. Speaking of leadership, I wanted to share a brief overview of my journey as a leader for the American Heart Association. For me, it began about 10 years ago when I was approached to serve on the executive leadership team for the Heart of Gold. I had a vision of bringing the local building trade unions and our corporate partners together for an impact and a cause that would affect everyone in the same way. Together, the local building trades, along with our industry partners, have built the region from the steel mills, refineries, hospitals, banks, car dealerships, grocery stores, schools, and even the homes that we all live in. We're proud to work, and we've always been focused on supporting our customers and the local economy here in Northwest Indiana. But at the end of the day, we're all still human, and we all still have the same health risk, just like our industry partners. That is why I wanted to expand our customer relationship and join in this life-saving partnership. We all know someone, through a family member or a friend, that has been touched by heart disease or stroke. You see, for me, it was my mentor, coworker, and friend, Dan Waldrop. I worked with Dan for over a decade here at the IBEW 697 business office and witnessed firsthand how heart disease interrupted his life and almost stopped him from meeting his grandchildren and enjoying retirement with his wife, Sandy. It is my pleasure to continue to serve alongside him and many great leaders who embrace this mission. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I would like to introduce my mentor and my friend, Dan Waldrop.
Hi, my name is Dan Waldrop. I'm a husband and a father. I can tell you, if you think that maybe it doesn't affect me because I'm 20 years old or I'm 30 years old, well, guess what? It affected Sandy and I when we were young parents with a 1-year-old child and had a cardiovascular challenge with her as well. When my daughter Lisa was diagnosed, we were first told that it was just a heart murmur from her pediatrician. It was at her 1-year annual checkup. And of course, we were heartbroken, and you start fearing the worst immediately as a parent. And of course, in subsequent tests, they indeed told us that our little girl needed cardiovascular surgery. That, oh no, it's us. And it happens to you. And when it happens to you, it's overwhelming at the very beginning. It's overwhelming while you're going through it as well. It's overwhelming to see your little girl taken out with anesthesia and lying there, being carted away to the surgical team. You just don't know that feeling until you actually experience it yourself. when she first started kind of looking around and becoming aware of what was going on. And her surgery was at 20 months, so she was really just starting to communicate very well. And all she said was, "I hurt." And I just wanted to cry and hold her right there at that time. Makes me want to hold her right now. One of the hardest things for me was those two words, "I hurt." And yet it was the great thing about it was, had she been born in a different time, we would have never had the opportunity for her to have the surgery and live a fulfilling life that she does right now. So my story is more than my diagnosis. It started with my daughter, and now it's come full circle with me. And now it's my daughter concerned about my health, and yet we're both benefiting from the research in the American Heart Association. Well, my story started in 2008. I was at the office where I worked, and I started feeling kind of funny, but it didn't feel anything like a cardiovascular problem. I would get up and walk across the office, and I would feel out of breath with no pain at all. I felt like I had just run 50 yards, and I was out of breath. People in the office asked me if I wanted to go to the hospital. It didn't feel like it was anything I needed to do. Eventually, though, I got concerned enough that I thought maybe I would go see my family physician, which was right down the street from where I lived. As I started to drive that way, I started feeling more and more of a sense of being out of breath, and panic set in. And I thought, oh my, is this how it happens? I got off the highway and I called my wife and said, "Hey, I want you to take me to the doctor." And instead, she took me to the emergency room of the hospital where I was diagnosed with atrial fibrillation. And then I was diagnosed with a aortic aneurysm. So from that point, they kept an eye on it, gave me routine tests, and the aneurysm has grown enough to where now I need surgery.
And I know that when he does wake up from a successful surgery, that I'm sure he will hurt.
Surgery is imminent for me, but I know that with all the technological advances that they have, although no surgery is routine, but the success rates are so much better now than what they've had even 20 years ago, and especially 30 years ago. And I'm fortunate that we have the technological advances today to make my surgery successful. I really look forward to getting this surgery behind me. There's a lot of things that we want to do in life. Sandy and I have some travel plans we'd like to do, quite a few travel plans, and that's going to give us time to be able to do all of those things that we've dreamed of doing.
Anyone that's had someone go through surgery, you know that those last couple minutes when they put the IV in and you have to say, "Okay, goodbye for now. I'll see you when you're done." And I'm dreading that. Yet once that's over, I know I'll be surrounded with the kids. I know there'll be other family members, and we'll spend time in prayer. And I know that God will bring him through it. And I am grateful for the research of the American Heart Association since 1960 in valve replacement. So I know he's in good hands. We're going to be at a good facility. There's been research, and I know the outcome will be great.
Wow, that video was 3 years ago. It seems like yesterday, but sometimes it seems like it was a long, long time ago. And I know that all of us have been through a lot the past year. I know I've matured a bit since that time. I've also been blessed, though, to remain very active and physically and socially. I want to thank all of you for participating in this virtual setting. Your interest in the work of the American Heart Association is paramount to continued decades of cardiovascular research. It is research that led to my diagnosis, my surgery, and a last-minute change in the procedure that was performed on me. You see, just a few weeks after the 2018 Heart Association Gala, and just several days prior to my surgery, my surgeon informed me of the results of new studies that offered another option for me. It was vastly different from my initial consultation just 18 months prior. The initial plan was to replace my functioning bicuspid heart valve as a preventative measure while in surgery for the life-threatening aortic aneurysm. It was determined through research that in some instances, a functioning but leaking bicuspid valve could be surgically repaired and left in place. This procedure would alleviate replacing my valve with a mechanical or an alternative tissue valve. During surgery, the team determined that the procedure was suitable for me. The technique involved removing calcium deposits on the valve that cause leakage and then surgically transforming a bicuspid valve into a normal trileaflet valve. The result of this procedure kept my natural tissue in place and alleviated the need for me to be on blood thinners, which would have hampered my active lifestyle. So you see, ongoing research can have a positive effect even in the short term. This is just a small example of the results of one study. There are numerous studies being done at this time. Maintaining funding is the key to sustaining and realizing successful outcomes. I urge you to continue your support for the American Heart Association. If you are new to the team, we welcome you and appreciate your participation. It takes all of us together to continue the tremendous positive effect research has on the lives of so many individuals and loved ones. Let's get on board and save lives.
All right, Dan, thank you so much for sharing the journey with us. We're really blessed to have you be joining us today and really doing so well, truly a testament to advancements and how quickly care could change from one year to the next. I want to remind you all the chat feature is available. If you would like to add chat at the very bottom of your screen, you should have a chat feature. Feel free to share messages with the speakers as we journey through today's program. At this point in time, I'm delighted to introduce our next speaker, Kirk Cordell. He is dealer principal of BMW of Cherville and South Shore Jaguar and Land Rover. He's going to share an impactful message with you about how time and talent is so important for all of us to understand, share, to give freely. I will hand it over to Kirk at this time.
Hi, my name's Kirk Cordell, and I'm here to talk to you today about the who, why, and what of getting involved with the American Heart Association. The who is you and me, and it really goes back to a lesson that I learned a long time ago, which is if not you, then who, and from those who have much, much will be asked. And this really goes back to a lesson I learned throughout my career. I feel very fortunate to have combined a passion with a profession, and that led to a really nice career with BMW Corporate for about 20 years. I've got a broad global experience that spans North America as the president of BMW Financial Services, Europe as the head of international remarketing and used cars, and also China, where I was the CEO of BMW China. Now, being an American running a German company in China, what does the company do? They send me to finishing school. So I went to IMD Business School, which is based in Switzerland, and had a wonderful professor by the name of Shlomo Ben-Hur, kind of a hard name to forget. And he really went on and addressed the group, and it was a group of young CEOs and business leaders, and kind of went through time and said, listen, in ancient times, really the church and the church officials were the power brokers. It then kind of transitioned to the monarchies. And today it's really the CEOs and the business leaders that are the most powerful people in the world. And those of you sitting in this room are some of the most powerful business leaders and community leaders. And if you're not going to get involved in something, and if you're not going to support something, then who is? So if not you, then who? And it's a message that I've remembered to this day. And from those who have much, much will be asked. So that's the reason for getting involved. That's the who, it's you and I. On the why, well, it's a very personal cause. You know, for my wife and I, my wife Wendy, we went to the Heart of Gold Gala back in 2015. We just moved to the area, and I'm originally from Indiana, but have been out a long time. We went to the Heart of Gold Gala, and on the way home, we were talking about it. And we said, you know, this is a very personal cause for both of us. My father-in-law went into the hospital for a triple bypass. He stroked in the hospital afterwards. And without the advancements made possible by the funding through the American Heart Association, probably would not have been able to survive that, live many more years to see his kids get married, have grandkids, and so on and so forth. Likewise, for my father, he had a stent put in place, also had an ablation, and prolonged his life for a number of years. And the why is really a very personal thing, and it's about time and more time with our loved ones. As far as the what, we made it also a very personal endeavor in that my passion is cars. And we said, all right, how do we combine this passion that we have with the mission of the American Heart Association? And so we came up with what's known as Drive for a Cause. It takes place annually out at Audubon Racetrack Country Club in Joliet, Illinois. And it's a way that we were able to kind of put our own personal stamp on things and get behind a new fundraising effort for the American Heart Association and all the good work that they do. Our next fundraiser is going to be Wednesday, September 22nd in the fall. We had to take a little bit of a break last year, but our last event in 2019, we had over 200 people and raised over $94,000 in one evening. So that's the who, the why, and what of getting behind the efforts and the mission of this great organization.
Well, thank you, Kirk. It's a very compelling message. And, you know, when we think about the gift of time, that's what matters most. And each one of you are sharing that with us today. So please know how much you mean to us. You know, I'd love to, at this point in time, take a peek at those companies who Kirk had referenced in his share as the whom. You know, there's going to be some great flashes on the screen, so I would encourage you to take a peek at it. I think you're going to enjoy it. You're going to see some incredible brands: Cleveland Cliffs, US Steel, NIPSCO, Ozinga, IBEW, BMW, Cherville, Strachan Van Til, T&M, Beacon Hills, Northwest Health, Kindred Hospital, and more. And Methodist Hospital Heart Walk team for the Heart Walk. You're going to see some of these flash before the screen in a fun display. Enjoy and sit back. What a beautiful display of sharing time and talent. Thank you to all of the amazing companies who were highlighted. You have truly led the way, year after year in many cases. Speaking of advancements of the mission and leading the way, it's now time to hear from a leader who leads from heart for heart. He compels others to give of their time, talent, and treasure, and does so through sharing his personal experiences with American Heart Association. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to introduce a visionary heart hero, Jean-Louis Mueller, GM and Vice President, Cleveland Cliffs, Burns Harbor.
Good morning, everyone. I am Jean-Louis Mueller. I'm the plant manager here in Burns Harbor, Cleveland Cliffs plant. And it used to be known as the Burns Harbor ArcelorMittal plant. I am also very honored to be the American Heart Association Heart Work Executive Chair. I have been in 2020. I will be happy to be as well in 2021. And along the years, the plant here has been a partner with the American Heart Association. We've gone through many owners and many plant directors. I am only one of them, but I am happy to keep that going because I know that these 20 years have been very successful in helping with the heart health of our employees and of course the families of these employees. And we have also raised $5 million that have helped the American Heart Association to develop and help with research that has been useful for a lot of people across the world. I have to say that in my own situation, my grandfather died when he was 60 of a heart attack, just a few months after taking his retirement. And on the contrary, both my parents have benefited from heart progress and past their 90 years, and they have had several surgeries linked to their heart, and you see the difference between 60 and 90 years. That's what we are trying to obtain for each and every one here around us and in the US. So I am asking you to embrace the heart work and get your family, your friends, your colleagues, your employees to embrace the heart work again as well. Because we are doing that not only for the heart work, but also for the training, the community programs that all this is funding, the help that is provided to everyone to help men and women reduce risks, monitor their health, monitor their cholesterol level, reduce their smoking. All these things are the key output of what we are doing here with the American Heart Association. And of course, I have to say that I am very honored to receive the American Heart Association Heart of the Community Award. I think this is the result of the commitment of this plant here. I am only one of the many people that have worked to make it possible, but I am the one getting this award, and I am very happy to accept it from the American Heart Association.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jean-Louis, and for sharing the partnership and how much it's meant to you and your company. From our hearts to yours, thank you for setting the bar so very high. You know, at this point in time, it's wonderful to always have an individual who is really excited about his service. And let me just share, for a long time, he's been serving alongside the mission. He is here representing Cleveland Cliffs as division manager for the Coke producing. He has been with the plant for 48 years. That is a long time. I'm thinking he probably knows every corner of that plant by now. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my delight to introduce you to Tim Candiano.
Good morning, Diane. It's exciting to be here, especially with all the leaders. So hello, my name is Tim Candiano, and I'm honored to be representing Cleveland Cliffs this morning. I'm delighted to share appreciation on behalf of Cleveland Cliffs for this meaningful recognition from the American Heart Association. You know, as John Louis has stated, the mission has impacted our employees and the community in many ways, and it is challenging to express in words in this brief period of celebration this morning. We are very grateful for every leader who joined us today as the American Heart Association celebrates so many amazing companies this morning. And regardless of who owned our plant, Bethlehem Steel, ISG, Middle, ArcelorMittal, and now Cleveland Cliffs, one thing always remained the same, and that is the leadership's passion representing this plant. We have inspired change in the community. We have trained thousands in CPR, and we have taken the lifestyle change message home to family and created a lasting impact. So we are honored to stand alongside of the American Heart Association's quest to building a healthier community here in the region. On behalf of John Louis Mueller and the employees I work alongside each day and Cleveland Cliffs, thank you for recognizing us with the American Heart Association's Heart of the Community Award. Diane, thank you. And it's been a heartwarming experience to be part of this organization and to support the American Heart Association. The American Heart Association truly makes a difference to all of us. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Tim. We appreciate your acceptance of today's recognition. As we close today's program, we'd like all of you to be aware of a couple of very meaningful programs that we have coming up soon. I'm going to ask Erin Crawford, Heart Walk Director, to begin to share what the Heart Walk plans look like and when we'll be hosting the event, as well as another program that's coming up pretty soon as next week for those leaders who are serving on Jean-Louis' executive leadership team. Erin, may I kick it over to you?
Thank you, Diane. So yes, exciting times. We have an executive kickoff with Jean-Louis Mueller for the Heart Walk, and they are happening in September. And if anyone is interested on this call about becoming involved in this dynamic program, my email address will be in the chat box for you. Please reach out. I know I'll be following up with a couple executives as well, but really dynamic program to get involved with, no matter what it looks like. If it's virtual as last year, if it's in person, we're doing what we can. And we had a stellar campaign last year with many of the leaders on the call at the forefront of it. So excited to do it again.
Well, thank you, Erin. And at this point in time, I will hand it over to Jen Young, Socials Director. She has a message to share with you about Hard Hats with Heart.
Thank you so much, Diane. And it's been just a pleasure spending our morning together to celebrate such an amazing impact, an impact that we really see in the construction, industrial, trades, industry, manufacturing, and that's heart disease, impacting 1 and 2 directly. Hard Hats with Heart is going to be taking place on October 28th. It started as a gathering of great leaders connecting, and it's turned into an annual movement now. It raises awareness again of the another one health impact in the industry, but importantly, I think it unites us together in a very unique and special way. So should your organization have any interest on the movement or how you might want to play a role, we would love to have you join us. My email is in the chat, and our executive chairman, Dewey Pearman from Construction Advancement Foundation, can also support if you have any questions in the future. And we're delighted to have you alongside us. And on behalf of Dewey, thank you for your consideration.
All right, thank you very much, Jen. Well, the chat feature is still on. If you want to message your congratulations notes or your goodbyes or appreciation messages to those who were featured in today's program. I want to thank you all again for sharing your time. We know it's not something you have an abundance of, yet you carved out moments to be with us today, and we are grateful for that. You'll be hearing from us soon regarding these programs. We want to make sure that you're aware of them when they are taking place. And until then, from our hearts to yours, thank you for embracing the mission. Thank you for your time, talent, and treasure. Good day now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.